Welcome. This is a new edition. So this is obviously myself, Noel Flannery from Q Sport Hub, peak performance coach, and for those on the hub who have never seen this man but they've heard this man, James here.
Hi everyone. Yes, I mean obviously we've had a bit of a nightmare, haven't we?
We're off tonight, yeah.
Well, we did we did last week as well.
And last week, yes.
Yeah, I mean we just spent 40 minutes trying to record, then I had no sound, and then I'm not even going to get into what we've had tonight. But hi everybody. My name's James here. Yeah, thanks. I mean, obviously we wanted to try and do these videos ultimately to try and help you get the best out of Q Sport Hub and the product that we've created. And this came off the back of, really, didn't it? We had a bit of a chat in Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking like we often do, and when we're catching up and we come out with some, even though we talk quite a bit of rubbish, we come out every now and again with some little like golden nuggets, don't we? And we just thought, well, actually, it would be quite useful if people could sometimes just hear us talking about what were you doing, and ultimately what, sort of our thoughts on how people can get the best out of Q Sport Hub. And yeah, I mean, the first thing is, it's probably good to talk about where Q Sport Hub came from, isn't it? And
yeah.
The intentions behind Q Sport Hub. I mean, Q Sport Hub, although I've lost track of how long it's been sort of live as a product. January, yeah. So we're in the 10th month. And there's a lot more to come from it, really. We're sort of really in that foundation stage of building the product up and helping you out. But the bulk of what will help you is, from a mindset point of view, is there. And that's part of what we'll talk about now, of how to get the best out of that, really, as a member. But it was really, Noel and I have worked together now for a number of years, and Noel is incredibly talented on the mindset side of things, and we're working with snooker players together. And we just felt that there's a huge sort of gulf within Q Sports across the board, where people want to improve their mindset but didn't know where to start. And when it comes to sort of a one-on-one basis, it can be quite difficult. It can also be quite expensive, especially if you're not sort of playing at that top level to justify the outlay. And we thought this product, let's not make this available to everybody and make it affordable to everybody, but really add value to Q Sport players of all ages, all ability, and help them on the journey. Is there anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said, right, what I'd kind of found, well, I've been in Q Sports now for 8 years coaching now, and it was like, it's one of those things that everybody wants it. There was huge demand, especially off the back of the results. We've been getting, but it's like cost wise, it was just prohibitive. Especially for elite players. Kind of junior pros and kind of elite amateurs. They're traveling up and down the country, well, over Europe and some of them globally. Well, especially pro players globally. And it's really expensive as it is, so we wanted to do something low cost, which meant obviously it had to be video based. And we produced this. It's £10 a month, and it's really like all the answers there, and it's just been amazing. I mean, every month it's kind of like it's just doing that, isn't it? It's just every month's better than the previous month in terms of how many people have got on it, and we're adding different content. And we've got a private Facebook page now as well, which means it's like just a really, really easy vehicle to add content to. The site is a bit more challenging because I have to, myself and James need to record a video, then I need to get it to James, and then he does techie bit, and it's just a little bit more challenging. So we just kind of came up with the page as well, and then obviously we'll be doing this almost kind of podcast style. We'll probably have some players on as well, right? We think, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always been the plan. Really, is we're both incredibly busy with other things, and it was just sort of, we can't do everything at once, so it has to be done in stages, and the priority ultimately was, it's sort of getting the content online, with the videos of yourself and promoting it and getting people engaged, really, because it's one thing from a business perspective, us saying, we really think this will work, to actually getting people to sign up and engage and to use it and give us feedback. And yeah, I mean, not that we've been sort of surprised, but I think the number of people who have signed up, we're incredibly grateful. And I think, from my end, because obviously I've been remarkably quiet, sort of on much Noel's sort of displeasure, but I think we want to try and phase that in now and get players on and have interviews and ask questions and really get feedback from yourselves. How can we make this better for you? Because it's all well and good us doing that, but we want your input, because that might not be the right thing. There's certain things that where you can say will work, but it might not work. There might be certain drills or whatever else that you might want to see that we've not already added. There might be certain explanations on certain things that you may want from Noel or whatever else. But we don't know that unless we get feedback. So in the description or wherever else, we'll leave our email, which is our joint email. We both get access to it. And if there's anything, people want to see, please just let us know. Any feedback, however honest, we want to improve it. We want to make this the best product on the market, really, for mindset, because there is going to be more that's coming. That we've got a little bit of nutrition on there now, but there really is a monumental gap from a mindset perspective, but also from a nutrition and diet and hydration, which is some quite basic stuff. In particular, another very, very good, right on cue as always. But yeah, things that we feel are basic things on, particularly in other sports. If you look at football or tennis and golf, they're sort of ahead, where Q sport isn't, like that. But the mind really, once you reach a certain level, which we spoke about really well last week, which we probably haven't touched upon yet, and the recording that got lost in history, but we spoke a lot about sort of really trying to improve that mindset and how to use Q Sport Hub. And one of the things that we spoke about, we actually had a member who had sort of gone through all the videos, hadn't he, and was thinking, this, when's the next level of this coming? And thinking, this is sort of the beginner side of things, and where ultimately, where's this next level going to be in terms of the video? Because I'm sort of accomplished now. And you went back with a really good answer, didn't you? And sort of said, this is it. You can't really go through the videos on a one-off and then expect to be where you are. All of the answers, which I found quite profound, all of the answers are there. And if you've not got them, you ultimately need to go back through it again, because this is the same stuff that the likes of Stan Moody have used, other professional players have used across all levels of Q sports to win championships, to get on main tours, to win games on main tours. It's the exact same stuff. There's no tricks. There's nothing really hidden. But I think it's the approach to how we use the platform that some people maybe are missing. I mean, I don't know if you want to maybe go on, and sort of explain that a little bit more. But for me, the usage of how we use the videos and use the platform, it's really trying to sort of put that within practice. It isn't a case of sort of flick through the mindset videos and think I'm done and dusted. I don't need to do anything else. Like, I'll just go back to the table. I'm now going to be a world-class player, and that mindset part just slotted in, and I'm done. Because what we mentioned last week was, if you look at any elite level sport, they all do the basic things in practice that they did many, many years ago, day in, day out. Roger Federer would still practice his backhand, his forehand. He would still practice the serves. He would still practice his footwork. Football is still going. They still practice passing. They still practice dribbling. They practice shooting constantly. But yet when it comes to mindset, it's and a sort of a common thing really, where people think, right, well, I need to improve it now. I'll watch these videos and I'm done now. I feel a little bit better, but I'm done. And ultimately, it's that continuous approach, isn't it? The sort of to putting into practice. And I actually thought of something in between the last two videos, which is something that I don't know if it's quite useful maybe to explain, but for me, from a business perspective, and I know because often I'll ring you and I'll have a good whinge about certain things and get things off my chest and everything else. But one thing that I've had to practice year and year, like sort of every year really within business, is if a particular thing's worrying me or concerning me from a mental perspective, is I have to address that and think, is there anything I can do about it? If there is, what, and can I do it? And is it a priority? If there isn't, I have to then try and sort of block that out of my mind, no matter how bad it is, because there's nothing I can do about it, and just move on with life. And there's certain things now where I've actually got quite good at certain things, and people go, well, how have you actually let that go? Are you going to actually let so-and-so get away with that and, speak to you like that, or to do that? And I just think, well, there's nothing I can really do about it. It isn't going to bother me. And I suppose what I'm getting at is I've had to practice that. And even now it's something that's conscious. When something happens, I still have to go through that process of thinking, right, I'm worrying about that. What can I do about it? If it's nothing, how can I now just put that on my mind and move on to what matters? And I suppose that sort of comes back to the hub, isn't it? Is the stuff in there has to be done continuously until it becomes sort of automatic, and it becomes part of that process of you as a player. Not just you do that on the cue sport side and the technique and hitting balls and practicing certain drills, but the mindset part has to become that also.
For sure. I mean, I think it's an elite sport that it's the discipline side of things. That's obviously it's so key. But just as like obviously for an example, obviously I've been doing this stuff for my entire adult life, really. Since my early 20s when I was competing, and it's really like so there'll be content, say a YouTube video that we share like on our Facebook page, for example. And I might have listened to that video for over the last 10 years, 200, 300, 400 times. I don't know how to put a number on it, but it's a lot. Like that, some of those videos are, I'm listening to, multiple times during the course of a month. And yet, despite my absolutely, intense knowledge, I'm still learning stuff off that content that I hadn't learned the previous 400 times I've listened to that. You see, and it's not that like I'm listening to it constantly so that it's boring, not at all, but it's like, it's quite profound really, but it's like, we learn stuff when we're ready to learn stuff. And what will happen is like, that there might be like a module on the course, right? And you listen to that 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And you'll understand most of it, some of it, a little bit of it maybe. You generally we understand less than we think we do, in terms of that. But it'll be like, and then you'll be in a supermarket 2 or 3 years later, or 2 months later, or somebody will cut you up in the road, or you'll be in the middle of a match, or there'll be some situation. It's like, right, I get that now. That sentence that Noel said in the module, now that makes sense to me. But it didn't at the time when you're hearing it. So in terms of using the hub, it's like, it doesn't have to be watching video. I mean, of course not. Like, use it as audio. And to be honest, I'm on it on occasion as well. Like in terms of like, if I'm, because I didn't get mindset right every day. Of course not. Oh my God, no, of course not. And I'm human and therefore flawed. So I mean, I listen to that and some other content as well. But something that's just kind of dawned on me, which I probably should have done 20 minutes ago. But we love this wacky. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. It's like, look, we just like roll with it. Is obviously like some of the people watching this might not be in the hub.
Yeah.
Might not know who this guy is. So just briefly, I'll keep it really short. So obviously, and there's no Flannery, I can say earlier, so I'm a peak performance mind coach. I have worked in elite sport my entire life. I was a competitor, I was a driver when I was young, and I won 3 British titles through making sure I had an advantage before I turned up at the event. And then I've worked in elite sport as a manager, um, like in motor racing, and I've managed teams to British, European, Asian, American, South American, and World Championship titles, and I'm probably missing a few there. So I've led a team and taught and constructed processes in that team to win these titles. And then lastly, obviously, like I'm a trained mind coach, and it's not so much sports psychology, but it's like mental performance from a feeling perspective. So it's from all of these things that like I'm kind of coaching from, and obviously, like James has had a just an absolutely extraordinary career. James, the nutritionist, James, the manager in World Snooker, tell us. Tell those that don't know already the legend that is James here.
Well, built it up to something that can only now be disappointing. I mean, yeah, so I thought I did it better last week. I'll try and keep it concise, but the beauty of last week, you just couldn't hear me talking. But yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, my background was trying to make this professional footballer, and that didn't obviously materialize. And yeah, I mean, I played golf to sort of a very high level, football to a very high level. The height was, I was on trial at Newcastle United for a period, and it just didn't materialize. I just lacked a lot of confidence, which was the main thing. I always felt I was good enough, but just didn't really mature sort of with confidence until probably mid to late 20s, to be completely honest. And then after that, sort of that didn't work out. I went to college, I did sport and exercise science, and then went to uni and I did the same. And then when I left, I went into teaching at college and university level, which was in sports science. So it was everything really. I had to know a lot about everything, about the body, about the mind, about kinesiology, about physiology, nutrition, about and all related ultimately to sports performance and how we become better. And then I went into fitness for a while, more in the management side of things and the business side, and then that's when I left the sort of start the sport agency, which is Sports Pro Care, which is now just over 4-year-old, I think. And the plan with that was to ultimately help professional athletes to become better. And initially, it was just in whichever way possible in terms of supporting them, in terms of the financial aspect, in terms of trying to make them more money, but also save them money, because a lot of athletes didn't have pensions in place and correct financial advice, and were always looking for sponsorship, but actually weren't saving money that they were actually earning in the first place. And now, yeah, I look after a few different athletes, but in particular in Q Sports, Gary Wilson, Joe O'Connor, two that I've worked with now for a good period of time. Gary Wilson is someone I've worked with now for about 3.5 years, and been with him when he's gone for sort of 0 ranking titles to now 3 ranking titles and number 10 in the world. And it's been an incredible journey, and it's one that's just getting sort of bigger and better. And Noel's been there along the way as also. So we've accumulated quite a lot of experience across sport of a range and level, but sort of I work now predominantly in the lead side, across a range of sports, but in specifically sort of football, but a lot of Q sport, to be honest. And that's mainly down to the fact that I just love snooker. I love pool, and that was the main reason ultimately I wanted to be there. I just have a real passion for it and first and foremost for me as a player, this was something the Q Sport Hub was always something that wasn't really there. Like I was one of those people where I would say to Gary in terms of doing content was, what tips do you use? What cue do you use? What practice drills do you use? What balls do you use? What cloth do you use? How do you play a certain shot? And this is all really basic stuff, but I'm not alone in that. And, when you want to get better, it's all these really fine margins and learn about different things and just accumulating knowledge time and time again. And yeah, that's why I've ended up today sort of joining the Q Sport Hub and, trying to help other people as well.
Well, that's what the hub's there for, right? I mean, obviously, like, it's video-based content, and all of the learnings from myself and James, the 5 world titles I'm sat on right now, it's very nearly 7 last year. God damn it, we've made 2 finals. So close, anyway, and two world snooker titles in junior and senior. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously bringing all of this knowledge into the hub in video form, and obviously because of that, we're keeping it really low cost. It's only it's a £10 a month. It's an absolute no-brainer. I don't know how this is not breaking the internet. I really don't. But that's what we're here to do, and hopefully profoundly helping players along the way. So basically, what we do. So tonight, obviously, some of the players we've worked with, obviously, obviously we're in amongst between the two of us, obviously Gary and Joe O'Connor that he's just mentioned. You've worked with Mr. Shaw as well.
Jason Shaw, yeah.
Chris Mellon, Jordan Shepherd, who's playing tonight in Ultimate Pool Pairs. He's playing tonight. Stephen Ellis, World Championship finalist. Just Stan Moody, Liam Graham. Yeah, there's probably about a dozen WST players, some of which are want to remain nameless because they just come to us when they're struggling, but for a bit of help, and we've helped our good friend Mark Williams with a bit of nutrition side of things as well. It's all we've done with Mark. Mark's like needs no help upstairs. He's absolutely nailing it. He's like, I spend all my time trying to get players to be like Mark, so it's like we just had to help him with his food intake because he was either eating nothing or eating a set meal for 8 from the Chinese. He was not between those 2 points. So we fixed him with that. And, I'd like to think, played a small part in the success he's had in the last couple of years, so it's really busy and it's growing and growing and growing all the time. Alison Fisher as well, so Emma Cunningham, God, there'll be dozens more that I'll forget by the time we go back into it. But no, it's good. So obviously it's every single performance parameter. It's not mechanical because, to be honest, I don't see how mechanical lessons on video would work that well, but it's not mechanical. It's every other single parameter, from career planning, performance planning, processes, practice regimes, hydration, food intake, and obviously mindset as well. And we really keep it like you touched on earlier. It's mastering the basics. And our basics on the hub are food intake, hydration, and mindset. And when you do those 3 things good, providing you've slept and you're not unwell or something, or you've got a broken arm, it's not going to fix that, obviously. But you do those 3 things well, you're going to have a really good day. You're going to play really well. But I think in terms of like feedback, like James had touched on, is an important process in elite sport. And it's one that's like really key. I think like obviously, I'm used to well, all my working career has been right at the top of elite sport, right? Where's my hand? Trying to do this mirror image. It's really hard. There we go up there, right? So obviously, we've got Formula One and English Premiership football. Really, that's standard setting. Everything else is second to that, and then down from there, obviously, you've got things like tour golf, tour tennis, NFL, maybe, and then everything kind of follows on. WST, World Snooker, maybe down here. Pool is probably about 6 feet off the bottom of this screen, and darts way beyond that. But it's just like, in terms of like how things are done at that level, obviously players they've spent 20, 30 years and playing in one sport, and all they know is this one sport. But when I'm telling them and showing them about what real elite sport is like, it's just mind blowing, And them all having separate members of staff and stuff, private members of staff, it's absolutely the norm. Even the war runs the football. War runs the professional football. It's they'll have several members of staff on the payroll, coaches, in terms of helping them. So it's all of these processes, like we're putting into place to help players, because we're doing this every day. There's not a day I'm not teaching somebody one-to-one, and there's not a day that James isn't working with the pro guys as well. We're seeing this stuff every single day. And then suddenly, I might do a lesson with a player and something come up that maybe I think will be helpful to the hub, and we'll do a video on that, or put something on the Facebook group. And everybody kind of gains out of that. Like we're just sharing as much as possible, and to go from there. So it's been going great, but I think like this feedback loop, in terms of like we see players come to us and with a lot of struggles, and hopefully as time goes on, and this is what happens in elite sport, like a Formula One driver doesn't wait until he has a dip in form or problems in order to get coaching, say on the mindset side of things. He's constantly doing that, even though he's driving great and the results are great, constantly doing that just to see if he can find another gain, right? In Q Sports, what we see is if players are only coming on the hub because they're struggling, right? And they come on the hub, and when loads of stuff that they never even thought of, like, and 2-3 months later, they're playing so much better, they're feeling great about the game, and they leave the hub. And I contact them to find out, like, I see you've left after 3 months. It's like, tell me, do better. I'm looking for a failing, or they didn't enjoy it, or they didn't get anything out of it. And it's like, and again, the feedback time and time again, because I've done this countless times, is the same. It's just players are saying, look, I'm playing so much better now, so I'm done. Problems I've got. But it's like, they're back up to where they were. So they were here, and then they've dropped down, and it's like they've gone back up to there. But what about getting yourself to there, and then to there? And you're only going to do that through discipline and keeping at this. And this is where, like you say, we're adding new content. And like I said before, it's like, I'm still learning off the videos that I've listened to 300, 400, 500 times. Because we'll learn stuff when we're ready to learn it. It's like, as our knowledge comes up, then you start learning new lessons that you didn't before. And suddenly you come out of Tesco's and somebody jumped a queue in front of you. And it's like, wow, that's weird. That normally really bothers me, but it didn't bother me anymore. And this is what the subliminal effect of the hub is having on players. And there was a WST player, quite very famous, and that I worked with. One of the best things I heard was we were out for a meal with his wife. And he went off for a minute to speak to somebody else, and she was saying, she said, whilst I've got you, I have to say, our man's always been a good guy, you know. And I says, well, yeah, of course, I've been there for a couple of years. And she says, like, but what I've noticed is it's his mood at home. It's like the things that upset him before don't upset him anymore. And it just goes straight off the top. And obviously he has his bad days, but it's like his bad days are so much less, you know. And this is like so profound. And imagine that on the table. You know, I'm not a player, but you James, as a player, like how do you find that? I mean, like, can you imagine? Obviously, it happens for you now, but you didn't used to. You know, you miss, and it's just a non-event, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's if it's all part of the same thing. I mean, even at the elite level, it's often things off the table that's a concern. Well, not a concern, but actually has an effect on the table.
100%.
So if you're not happy in other parts, you can't then expect to be 100% or focused 100%, and that's the difference when you're playing cue sport at any level. It doesn't matter how much practice that you've put in. If you're not mentally prepared and you're going to a game tired, or you're underhydrated, or you're stressed, or you're worrying about something, then everybody knows you're going to miss balls that you wouldn't ordinarily miss, and it's got nothing to do with the technical aspect of it. And that's the thing, isn't it? If you're going into a game and you're not stressed on the parts of your life, then you're going to practice better, and that practice is then going to lead on to better performance in a game as well, as you're not being as stressed and as worried. So it's everything sort of comes together, and sometimes it's impossible to sort of to work around some things, but you can handle things better. It's like I was saying before, you know, everybody's going to get stressed or worry about something. That's just part of life, but it's how you deal with it and sort of minimize the effects of it as best as you can. That sets you apart when it comes to actual performance.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I was having a bit of debrief after an event there last night where an elite pool player who was playing at the weekend there, and you know, we were chatting, and he was like, it's like I was saying before, he says, there was something I had said to him a few months ago, and he says, I probably was nodding my head, but I probably didn't really quite get it. But like at the weekend, suddenly at the table, I was thinking about what you said. Now it makes so much more sense. And it's like, because he was kind of caught himself, giving himself a hard time because his mindset was okay. You know, it was decent. You know, it wasn't fabulous like it has been in the practice for the matches, but it was just okay. But what I'd kind of pointed out to him is it's like we're not after perfection. It's like it's absolutely okay. To be honest, in the match, all you have to do is be better than the other guy.
Yeah.
And if you're like a bit frustrated, that might be a lot better than the anxiety that he's hearing. You know, if we were using that as a scale in terms of like, you know, emotional mindset, right? We've got ecstasy and great joy and stuff at the top, right? And then feeling good, and then, you know, it heads down the road, and, you know, I've got kind of frustration here. But if he's away down there because he's riddled with anxiety, you're further up the scale than he is.
Yeah.
And especially in elite ways, it's really not so much the technical thing that's the defining factor. It's mindset. So it's how we feel. That's the defining factor. It's the guy who feels like he's a goddamn superhero, and the, you know, his underpants is on the outside, and his cape is flapping, you know, and he's just like feels absolutely invincible, right? Or badass, as we go on about in the site. You know, it's like the guy who's closest to that, or is potentially possibly there. You know, that's the one that's coming away with the title and the trophy that day. You know, that's the defining factor. And you know, and then, but obviously, it's we're seeing just such a profound gain in players really quickly, and the reason for that is, especially in pool, is because the level's less. So, like, take like say Red Bull Formula One or Man City, right? And again, this is more the world I'm used to. The reason they're at the top is because of things that they did years ago. because there's this massive delay in the elite sport between processes and investments and stuff that you put in place, i.e., a new academy or investing in young talent or bringing in big players and stuff. You know, it all just doesn't happen overnight. You know, it's like you're not going to get Norwich overnight going to the top or anything. You know, it's like it's all about what you're putting in place over the years, and it's exactly the same with Red Bull. You know, but there'll be teams doing a better job now than Red Bull are now in terms of what they're putting in, and that will show up again next year or the year after.
Yeah.
But the lower down the sport you're in, the quicker that delay is. There's always a delay, but the smaller the delay will be. So this is why, like we're saying, even in Q Sport Hub, so even the players that are only paid for one-to-one, they're seeing such a gain so quickly. Like we've had players that have maybe not won, they've won at elite level, but it hasn't been for a few years. And they go on the hub. I remember one, I'll not say a name, but it's if you're a pro player, you know the name. And they went on the hub, not one-to-one, went on the hub on the Thursday, and then won a comp on the Sunday. That was the first win they'd had in about 3 years. And just like breezed past everybody, because suddenly they're getting stuff like this right, and mindset's a lot better and stuff, you know. So it can be that quick. So the lower the level of the sport, the smaller the delay. And this is, to be honest, it's part of the why you know players are kind of dropping on and off the hub, because like they're dropping off and then a couple of months later their performance is dropped again. It's like, God, right, I need to go back on. And it's just this madness, you know, just keep on it, keep working on these processes, and then things will kind of like move on from there. But as I say, like if you're on and off at a Man City level, you wouldn't really notice it because there's such a delay between what you're doing and what you're doing further down. But like in elite sport, they're very, very aware of this delay. And this is what they're working on all the time, putting processes, investment, etc., etc., into clubs. And how many times have we seen it? You know, like a club gets taken over in the Premier League and it's got new owners, and they pile 200 million into it, and it might be a bit better that season, but really it's 2 or 3 seasons down the line before they're suddenly now they're in the top 5.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of investments that's needing to get done, and it's about us investing in ourselves. So it's like I can't, and this is why really I'm wearing a number of different hats. Like in Q Sport Hub is very broad, and that's not how things are in elite sports. In elite sport, things are very to the point, and you get experts in certain fields. So, like a typical tennis player will have at least probably 2, 3, 4 coaches, not one. So it's because they all do different things. They're all specialists in different things. I've told you this before, Mister Here. There's a coach that works for Juventus, Liverpool, and I think it's AC Milan. And all he coaches, and this is what very, very elite sport is like. It's a really good example of this. All he goes in and coaches in those teams is throw-ins or shy. That's it. That's his special subject. That is it. Nothing else. And it's the same in Formula One, a mechanical build, not the whole car. No. But mechanical build just one little component. It might just be this is his bit. He just builds this day in, day out, because then he's an expert in that. And then they'll get somebody else will do this, this, and this. And somebody else will do this. There's another person will do that. That's why they've got 1,000 staff. Because that's how elite sport is. So we're trying to be very broad. We're having to be really to serve players, and give you all this information as much as we can. And we're seeing the results. I mean, it's making a profound difference to players on and off the table. Do you remember that message we got off a player and he'd suffered from, he was on the hub and he'd suffered from anxiety his whole life. He's like, you know, the guy's a 40-year-old adult, and he'd suffered from anxiety his whole life, and it's gone. And that was just amazing to me. That was one of my favourite messages I think we've ever had in.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, fantastic, mate. But I think we'll probably wrap it up for this week or for today. We
Sounds
might do
good.
more.
Sounds good. Yeah,
get time and have another catch up.
Yeah, we've got loads more we can put into weeks beyond, and I say we'll get some guests in like Jordan Shepherd. He'll keep us entertained.
Yeah. have a word with him, but yeah, I mean, obviously, just before we go, I think it's just again, thank you very much, everybody, and please give us your feedback if there's anything you want us to talk about, anything you would like to see on the hub, any issues that you've got. We'll leave the details there, but please, even in the Facebook group, we want to be interactive. We want people to share experiences, people to be able to communicate with each other. We want that because that's how we learn. If we're engaged, obviously that's where we're going to be. We're going to enjoy it. And we're going to be more present on it. So yeah, thank you very much, and then we'll see you all soon.
See you later.
See you later.